What up? First and Pod, Danny Parkins, Andrew Fillipponi. Preseason is underway. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend about your favorite podcast. And here's the thing about Andrew Fillipponi. The man's a newsbreaker. And this Brandon Aiyuk story, it puts you into six figures, my friend, on Twitter in terms of followers. Congratulations on all your success.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that for sure on this podcast episode. That would be the elephant in the room, and I'm not going to completely bury the lead, but I do have a little bit of sequential order here. I have another one of these preseason 10 pony observation lists.
Love it.
And so the starting gate will be on what I was just trying to get myself to watch. Patriots and Panthers, and then some Giants and Lions on a Thursday night. I know.
Oh my God. Is this gonna require me to have watched all the preseason games?
No, I am a psychopath.
Okay.
So I'm a sicko. So this is not going to require you to do any of that.
All right, good.
I'm going to just start with this very generic macro point.
Love it.
The preseason is so effing boring.
Well, yeah.
And the NFL knows it. At the end of the day, 10 years from now, how many preseason games do you think they're actually playing? Will we get to a point in our lifetimes where the NFL adopts what high school football, college football, and every level of football besides the pros, and the other pro leagues don't do this? The NFL is the only one that stages exhibition games before the season starts because they think it's required for guys to be ready, in air quotes, to play. Your thoughts? They're already trying to get it down to 2. Will it just go away, period, someday?
I mean, hopefully we live long lives, so I would like to think yes. But the thing that I've heard as a pushback to that is the other leagues don't cut players. Like high school and college, it's all about recruiting, and then you're just on the team. Football, professional football, you are cutting players, deciding whether or not guys are literally good enough for this job or not. That's not something that exists at the other levels of football. So you can simulate it in live action practices, joint practices, whatever the case may be. It still doesn't replicate game situations for, roster spots 46 through 53 plus the practice squad. So that's another reason for it. And it's obviously made money for the league in the past. But I'm with you. If Oregon can play Auburn in week 1 of college football, I don't understand why they need 4 practice games before I can get Bears Titans. And my thing too is I don't like any sports that have no consequences attached to it. I don't like spring training. I don't like preseason. I don't like exhibitions. I don't like preseason football. Like any sport that has no consequence, there's enough sports of consequence. I don't need to watch sports with no consequence unless I am gambling on it or it's job related.
And yet it's football with NFL logos and NFL teams. And that is why these ratings, even though the games are absolutely dog crap, in Chicago, the Bears and Bills will rate this weekend.
Yep.
Where I am, the Steelers and Texans will rate tomorrow night. Even though for vast portions of the game, it'll be completely unwatchable. So,
yep. I'm
that's
with
just
you.
where I wanted to start here.
Good first observation. I'm with you.
Thank you. Number 2, on the Patriots and Lions here. Drake Maye, 2 of 3 for 19 yards. Are they protecting him, in your opinion, because they think he can be the week 1 starter? Or is this just a new way of doing things in Foxborough? Because I can tell you what, even if he was the week 1 starter, I don't think Belichick is having a rookie quarterback play only 5 snaps in an exhibition game.
Yeah, I mean, I assume he is not the week 1 starter. We've been tracking it. Stroud was 43 snaps last year. Bryce Young was 54. High picks who were clear week 1 starters from the moment they got to the team. So that is obviously pacing well below the recent standard, just with going back 1 year.
If he's not going to start week 1, if he's not going to play until the middle of the season, give me a compelling reason why he shouldn't be playing more right now.
He must not. I mean, is he not ready? Has he not? Is he actually not ready? I don't know the answer to that. I agree with you. If he's the backup, you've got to play him. because sprain his knees out till week 6. Who cares? Like you weren't planning on playing him anyway. So no, I don't think there's a compelling reason for it. Now listen, the league is going in the direction of playing guys in the preseason. I would be risk averse. I think it's crazy to play Mahomes in the preseason. I'd rather deal with week 1 rust than risk injury, just given the violent nature of football. The league clearly disagrees with me, and got more stars are playing more often in the preseason because there's more time off between the last preseason game and the start of the season. So they feel like there's more time to recover from small injuries. But football is just such a brutal game. I would deal with the rust in exchange for health week 1 and beyond.
Well, and dovetailing into this is our guy, Colin Cowherd, saying that he thinks Joe Milton has a chance to be the Patriots' starting quarterback. You obviously have a good relationship with Colin. What is going on here? Where did he get this from? He's the only human being that has made this
I have
assessment.
no idea. It seems ridiculous. Joe Milton can throw the ball over the mountain like Uncle Rico, but nobody in the world thinks that he's actually ready to be an NFL processor as a quarterback.
He never will be. I'll answer that for you. He won't be.
I mean, he wasn't in college.
Exactly. So he struggled with that in college, and he had great wide receivers there in an offensive system that was designed for a quarterback that could chuck it to just throw it up to Cedric Tillman and those dudes and let him run underneath it.
Yeah. So I have no idea where he got it, but Colin also says he's like, I'd rather be interesting than right. So maybe mission accomplished.
And you seem to love referencing this Uncle Rico mountain thing from Napoleon Dynamite. Is it one of your favorite movies? Is it on Danny's top 30 comedies of all time? Because you appear to be the only person in sports media that I know of who goes to the Napoleon Dynamite well at times.
When it came out, I would have had it in my top 30. I do not think it has aged particularly well.
I've never seen it. Like when people wear a Vote Pedro shirt to school, I thought they were talking about Pedro Martinez.
Yep, that's on brand for you. I loved it in its time. It had a moment, and that reference in particular has just stuck with me. But no, I am not it would not make my top 30 comedies list. You do top 10 preseason observations. I could do top 30 comedies. No problem.
Hawkeye. I mentioned this. This is observation 3 for me. I mentioned that they had this Hawkeye technology. Well, they tested it out in Giants and Lions. Did you happen to see any of the clips of it on X?
No.
It was brutal. It took forever. Phil Simms, who was doing the Giants preseason game, was in the booth flipping out. Like, if it's going to take this long, there's no way this will ever work. People I know in the media, one of my friends, now I forget who it is, but someone in sports media, if you're listening to this, I'm stealing your take and not attributing it to you because I saw this and now I don't remember who it was from. But the point was, in tennis, the ball is moving and they're able to tell us in seconds if it was on the line or not. In soccer with this VAR thing, they're able to do it and the ball is moving at a great deal of speed. This is a stationary object. And it took like 5 minutes in New York to figure out if it was a first down or not. It was interminable tonight.
Wow.
Yes.
So I missed it. I apologize. I actually think about baseball with this. Like they've been working on, automatic balls and strikes for a while, and it's finally made its way to AAA, and people like it, but they say it's not 100% ready for the pros. And my argument has been, I don't need it to be 100% ready. I just need it to be as good or better than the umps, and then issue put a challenge system in, and let's go. Like,
it needs to be better than the umps. I think.
I think it needs to be at least as good, because then if it's automated, it should also be faster, and at least it will be standardized, and it should remove the egregiously bad calls. But not to get too deep into that, but my point is like they've been working on that for forever, and some people think the technology has been ready for 5 years, and other people think that it's still not ready now. So in theory, I have no idea why this isn't ready to go, but certainly don't bring it into the NFL if it's going to take longer than the chain gang. That's idiotic.
It was a complete disgrace. I don't understand how the technology can be that bad right now.
It seems impossible. With the money, it seems impossible.
All right, let's get to a couple of Steelers things here.
Yeah,
and the first one will be the first one will be
here we go.
The first one will be Brandon Aiyuk.
What are we calling you? Pony Schefter? Andrew Rappaport?
Well,
what are we doing here?
Let's just start with this. I understand right now how it looks when I say that a deal is done besides hammering out details and crossing T's and dotting I's. And we're taping this on Thursday night and a deal is not done. That does not make me look great. And I've just been, I've had people on social media go after me like crazy for that. I would say to some of those people that I am 100% convinced of this. Any person in sports media with any degree of reporting training, with any rudimentary knowledge of how reporting stories is supposed to work, would have phrased what I put out there the other day, in my opinion, the same exact way. If I told them how that story happened, they would all say the same thing. Oh, I would have done the same thing. So in that way, like, I feel fine about what I said. Now, what's happening right now about how this whole thing with San Francisco trying to find a wide receiver in another deal, that's come up. I just saw that there was Mike Garafolo of NFL Network put that out there. Danny, I don't see how there's a plan B or there's another way that this ends up working out. Like, just remove my reporting from this story right now and go with everything else that's out there. How is it another team other than the Steelers? Explain that to me. There's no mystery team. It's not the Patriots. He doesn't want to play for the Browns. He's not getting a contract extension in San Francisco. So the only thing that leaves is him playing there for $14 million. Do you actually think that that could happen?
No, I think he will be traded. I'm a little surprised that we don't often see team doesn't want to pay receiver. Team is willing to work with receiver for trade. Hey, work out a contract with next team. And then receiver is like, I just want to go somewhere that will pay me. And then also say, but I don't want to go to team A or team B. Like, that part's pretty rare.
Yep.
It's normally, you guys don't want to pay me. Trade me anywhere that will pay me. And then the agent negotiates the highest contract with whomever. Like, Brandon Aiyuk is trying to thread a needle here of, I want to get paid, but I want to get paid by a good team. So I don't know what his priorities are, because the Browns won 11 games last year. Maybe he doesn't believe in Deshaun Watson. I get not believing in New England. First-time NFL head coach, not knowing who the quarterback is, Drake Maye, uncertainty. No offensive skill players around you. Like, going from the best skill position group in the league to the worst skill position group in the league, I can at least project my own sensibilities onto why he might not want to do that. But obviously, I don't really know. Pittsburgh, great organization, no established quarterback there. Differing opinions, I would imagine, about Fields and Wilson. So I don't have another team for you, but I would just say, as an outsider who has not done any reporting on this story, the fact that he is not just saying, oh, the Patriots are willing to give me $24 million a year, not good enough because it's New England, that's rare. Like, what comp do you have for that one? Because I'm not saying it's unprecedented, but it's not normally how these things go. Like, A.J. Brown went to the Eagles because they were going to pay him. DeAndre Hopkins, Arizona, because they were going to pay him. Like, it wasn't because they were the best team in the league. It was just because that their current team wasn't going to pay him, and the new team was. So this is a little different than some of the other wide receiver pay me or don't pay me trades that we've seen in NFL history, or at least recent.
It's
NFL.
almost a case study here, and it'll be, in a way, a precedent-setting thing that a player who is under contract is trying to navigate this like he's a free agent.
That's what
Like
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So that adds. So you say I don't know about mystery team X, like what team makes sense. I'm like, well, I can't dismiss that entirely, because what if he's willing to take $5 million less than the Patriots?
Well,
because he really wants to be a Jet. Like I can't rule it out.
Well, we know he said that he wanted to play for Washington or Pittsburgh. He's on the record as saying that, and the rebuttal could be, well, if the money's good enough, he'll play anywhere. But he just said no to New England and the offer, and I have, based on what I've heard, no reason to discredit the fact that it was a 4-year, $128 million deal where he was going to get over $30 million a season. I have no reason whatsoever. $32 million a year, we're talking. And that would have made him, I think, behind Jefferson and Brown. It would have made him the highest paid. It would have tied him with Brown, I believe, to be the second highest paid wide receiver in the entire NFL. But he wants to play for Mike Tomlin. That's his desire. And I think the Steelers got to, I think, a place with him on the contract very early on in the negotiating. I don't think that was hang up in this whatsoever. I think that was actually a very easy part of this whole convoluted, complicated puzzle, was being able to get that part of it done, because he holds Mike Tomlin in such reverence. It almost feels like, to me, Danny, like a guy that wants a cool boss that like values what is it going to be like, the quality of life in the workplace, the person that I have to answer to and work for. Do I trust this person? Do I like this person? Which I'm not saying that's completely unimportant, but it's just a little bit of a rarity that someone this early in their career would prioritize something like that in such a big way.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like projecting what he's been at an organization that is very good and has been winning. He hasn't won a ring. So if he's prioritizing money and a ring, that's tough to do. Like the Cowboys aren't paying CeeDee Lamb. They've won 12 games 3 years in a row. The Chiefs led the league in drops last year, and they're not in the market for an investment like Brandon Aiyuk. You know, they drafted Xavier Worthy, they paid Hollywood Brown, but on a short deal. You know, it's hard to it's a really hard thing to do, to say give a receiver $30 million and expect to win right away. I mean, Justin Jefferson isn't expected to win a Super Bowl this year. Tyreek Hill isn't expected to win a Super Bowl this year. Devontae Adams isn't expected to win a Super Bowl this year. DeAndre Hopkins isn't. You know, it's a very hard needle to thread. Amon-Ra St. Brown has a shot at a Super Bowl, and a very, Jamar Chase would argue that he has a shot. But it's very, very difficult to pull that off. So normally we see guys go for the money. I assume some of your sourcing, or most of your sourcing, is Steelers organization based. Are they still confident?
The last person I talked to about this, which would have been on Thursday at 10 a.m. my time, said that nothing had changed. So That made me feel just as good, if not better. Look, I mean, some of the reporters on this had to backtrack and change their reporting. Most importantly, in that respect, was Schefter, who said that the Steelers were not a likely landing spot, then had to send out a tweet hours later that said they actually were in the mix. So, look, I think in the end, I'll be vindicated on this. I really believe that. I just do not see San Francisco saying, well, we had this protracted thing with you, now we're going to nix this deal with the Steelers and give you that contract. They can't because they've
they're not
earmarked the money for other people.
Yeah, they're not going to pay. Well, and they drafted what's his name?
Pearsall.
Pearsall, thank you. Yeah, the first the Niners definitely aren't giving Aiyuk a contract. That is not happening. It's just a question of how much Aiyuk is really going to steer where he's going, and if mystery team X is possible. I'm with you. I think Steelers. I trust you, buddy. I trust you. You know that.
Well, do I trust you on Justin Fields? Because that's the next question I want to go with here, which is Wilson versus Fields, and Wilson's calf injury, which has kept him out of most of Steelers training camp. Fields is now starting for the Steelers in their preseason opener. Fields has allegedly, from all the things I've heard, he's gotten better since the start of camp. He was very erratic on some of the routine plays early. He's cleaned a lot of that up in practices, and he's exhibiting the athleticism that had people in Pittsburgh salivating over him when he was in the draft a few years ago when they thought he was the best quarterback prospect. And obviously what you thought of this guy coming off of 2022 when he actually got MVP votes on a very, very bad team. So my thing to you right now is, how good of a quarterback do you think Justin Fields can be in the NFL?
I think Justin Fields is a 10 out of 10 leader and an 11 out of 10 athlete. And the thing that you ask 10 quarterback experts on this, and you're going to get a division of opinion. Can you improve as a post-snap processor? Like, can you get better at that? Or is that something that you just have? The ability to do it quickly. Read 1, read 2, read 3, get rid of the ball on a check down. People disagree on that in the league. And that's what Fields was slow with. If he was thrown to DJ Moore, he was good. He never got to Darnell Mooney. It was look at the number 1, and then he'd be late if he was going to the 2 or the 3, and he would tuck and run to avoid it. And the difference between college open and NFL open. In college, everyone at Ohio State was open because everyone at Ohio State was going into the NFL. I think 4 of his 5 offensive linemen went into the NFL. Obviously, all of his receivers went into the NFL. He went into the NFL, and he was playing against Northwestern. So it was a different thing. And so how good can he be? On a given day, he can be Lamar Jackson. And he could be one of the most difficult players in the world to game plan against. But over 17 weeks, if you make him a passer, I don't think he can be a top 20 quarterback in the league. So that's the range for him, unfortunately. I want badly to be proven wrong. I love Justin Fields. I have all the respect in the world for him as a leader. And he's one of the Devin Hester just went into the Hall of Fame. That was the most exciting Bear player in my lifetime with the ball in his hands until Justin Fields came around. Like, Justin Fields is box office. He makes the Steelers more interesting. He makes the NFL more interesting. I root for the kid. I genuinely do. But I don't know that he can get from read 1 to read 2 to read 3 as a passer fast enough. So I think that really caps what you can do in the NFL.
But he's one of the greatest running quarterbacks of all time.
Yep, and he's in it. Yes, and he's in his athletic prime. So, like, if the people who believe that the thing that I'm talking about can improve, then you're in a good spot. If the people who believe that it can't improve, it just caps him, because eventually that athleticism will go, and eventually you'll play a good defense that will keep him in the pocket and make him beat you as a passer. And it won't work.
Justin Fields has definitely, I think, put himself in a position where he's not going to start week 1. But I don't think now the margin of error for Russell Wilson is very big. I think he's opened enough eyes and he's proven himself enough to the coaches in practice that if Russell Wilson has a bad couple of games to start the year, I'm not sure he's their quarterback in Pittsburgh when the calendar flips to October. I honestly think that it's now for Wilson a situation where his injury, which was done in such a moronic fashion because the new strength and conditioning staff here made him push a sled during their fitness test before the first day of practice. That's true. They hired a college strength and conditioning staff from Boston College, and that's what they made these guys do, and that's how one of the oldest quarterbacks in the NFL got hurt. And so if that's like a Burrow situation where Joe had that calf problem and it hampered him very early in the season a couple years ago, then I don't think Russell Wilson is long for the Steelers quarterback job. Danny, you mentioned this, my next observation. Mahomes is starting, and then CJ Stroud is starting against the Steelers tomorrow. Two of the MVP favorites are playing in the preseason. Andy Reid is considered the best coach in the NFL right now by a mile, and DeMeco Ryans is considered probably the best young coach in the NFL. What do they know that we don't know? What makes them think that even just 15 plays, that it's worth the risk? Like, I understand that you want your offense to be in a rhythm by the time you get to week 1, but if one of those guys gets injured like Michael Vick did in the preseason that year, you're done. Like I'm at a loss on this.
I think, listen, you remember how bad week 1 was last year? Just across the league. I do think, I mean, the Chiefs lost week 1 last year to the Lions, even though that game was pretty entertaining. Like, I do think that there is every week matters, got to knock off the rust, blah, 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 all that stuff. But I think it's insane. It's such a dangerous sport. And whenever I say this to Olin Kreutz or former players, they're like, you just sound so soft and you're scared. And like, you gotta get calloused up and you got to get ready to hit and you got to get ready for football. I'm like, well, man, that's what practice is for. Controlled conditions. And like, I cannot imagine a $500 million quarterback who's got, a couple of Super Bowl MVPs on his resume. I just cannot imagine why Patrick Mahomes needs to play 20 snaps in the preseason. It seems completely insane to me.
The Rams didn't play anybody in the preseason and they won the Super Bowl. So I just don't see the correlation there either.
I agree with you. Listen, I'm very, very liberal. I would be as conservative as possible when it came.
I didn't know that you allowed for people to, I didn't know you let people in on your political leanings.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, I believe in, science and things like that.
Is that out there on your radio show or is this an exclusive for First and Pod?
No, my radio, they know where I stand.
Okay.
They know where I stand.
Next up, Eagles and Ravens. Now we have.
What number are we on here?
This is number 7.
All right, we got to pick it up.
Number 7. Eagles and Ravens are going to play. Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni reportedly had a very tense 2023. Extremely tense between these two. We did not hear about tense feelings between the two until weeks before this season is starting. There were no reports in that grueling Philadelphia market. There were no reports of tense until now. So I always did they know it and they didn't want to say anything about it? Why is it just leaking out now? Are the two people involved who kept it behind closed doors finally willing to let it out there because maybe they think if it's out in the open, it's going to help heal the relationship? But it doesn't sound good to me that the star quarterback who they gave over $200 million to and this head coach who's on thin ice do not have exactly a warm and fuzzy relationship, Danny. And it makes me think like it's even more likely that Nick Sirianni will not make it through this season.
I got killed by Eagles fans on Twitter. I know they were not terribly kind. After on Colin's show, I took their under for this year and said something is just off in Philadelphia. And I talked about the firing of the coordinators and the 6 weeks to finish last season and the playoff loss and Hurts's contract kicking in and Kelsey's retirement. And they're a very talented team. You muted yourself, by the way. There we go. But they're a very talented roster, but it's just thin ice. They've fired better coaches than Nick Sirianni, who have accomplished more with less hubbub around it in Doug Peterson. So you've got Kellen Moore on staff. You've got Vic Fangio on staff. Yeah, you can fire Nick Sirianni if you start 2-3. That absolutely can happen. So I know he's got more wins than any Eagles coach in his first couple of years with the franchise. I understand the regular season success, and it's just one report in a training camp period of time. But great roster. I would be very concerned if I was Philly. Not that they're going to be 6 wins, but they think that they've got a Super Bowl caliber team, and I think there are more problems there than they're letting on.
I'm not going to let Hurts off the hook here, though. I feel like Sirianni is on thin ice and could be fired like you do. But I also think Jalen Hurts' place among the great quarterbacks in the game is definitely now very much up for debate. And when he was getting to the Super Bowl there, it was not quite Brock Purdy level of, is it the system or is it the quarterback? But that definitely was a debate. And he played well enough in a losing effort in the Super Bowl where I think a lot of that for the offseason dissipated because of how impressive he was in that game. The fall off late last year, I think a lot of that is on him. And so when we talk about quarterbacks right now, where just their mere presence on a team, does this team have a chance to win because they have this guy? Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, your boy Josh Allen. Jalen Hurts is not in that company. And I think he's got a big prove-it year too, even though they've already paid him handsomely.
Right. That's the thing, right? It's a big prove-it year for public perception. It's not for status within the organization. Like, he's not in danger of not being the Eagles' starting quarterback in 2025. But we have seen fast falls from graces from guys who have been paid before. So he'll have more than 1 year to recover from it, but it's Philadelphia. So, he won't have more than 2. But in terms of public perception of Jalen Hurts, I still think he's regarded as a, top 10 quarterback, but I wouldn't have him there. I'd have him just outside of it. So I think that he's like right on that bubble right now. So I agree. Huge year for Hurts.
Caleb Williams is going to play against the Bills.
Yep. Finally. Here we go.
The Bears are on Hard Knocks. Move over Caitlin Clark because Caleb Williams is the next athlete who's going to polarize people across not just the sports spectrum, but also the, do I say political spectrum? I don't even know if that's the right way of putting it. What's that?
It's a culture war.
Yeah, it's a culture war. Okay. We're already having conversations about a bag that he brought, and you're rolling your eyes on YouTube.
Who was having the conversation?
A lot of people on social media. It's rampant on social media. It has not come up on my show. I don't know if it did in Chicago with you boys. It did not
come up on mine. But
it seems to be the one thing that my maybe this is a problem with my Twitter. Not following, but maybe the things for you, that tab.
Yeah.
It seems to be something that they want to get me into, is this bag scenario.
Because the For You tab on Twitter is, I mean, I can't say it's the most dangerous application of social media that we've seen, because like Facebook has literally started civil wars in third world countries. But I hate the For You tab so much. It is so disingenuous and polarizing. And I know it's not for me.
Well, this is a big For You tab topic, is the bag that he had out there.
Trust me, I've seen it. I've seen the NFL aggregator accounts, but just because there's some artificial engagement numbers under a aggregated account with no name on it on the For You tab, that doesn't mean it's a real thing. Designer bags
are huge.
Designer bags. These are popular items.
It's unisex. It's men and women. We all love designer bags. I'd love a nice designer bag.
So I've never had a designer bag, but I know, have you been in a locker room or a clubhouse on like a baseball clubhouse on getaway day?
Designer bags galore.
It's just Louis Vuittons everywhere.
You're drowning in designer bags.
It's just designer bags everywhere. So I reject the entire premise. But I will say that these bad faith actors have been, they did it in the pre-draft. The erosion of masculinity, we used to raise men to be quarterbacks to date the prom queen, and now they're painting their nails. Like, this was a thing that happened. And Caleb right now, he was very active on social media in his college and like pre-draft time, liking tweets and, clapping back at people. Since he's been drafted by the Bears, that's almost completely stopped. And his Instagram stories have been pretty just like reposts and generic. But we know that he is of that generation. We know that he has clapped back. We know that he is online, and we know that he is polarizing, to your point. So I don't think the bag matters 0.001%. I absolutely think that when Caleb arrives in the NFL, like he had arrived in college, and in college he was very comfortable talking trash, clapping back, being online. I think he's dialing that back right now because he feels like he hasn't arrived yet at this level. When he arrives at this level, I do think we are going to see a quarterback who is very comfortable not engaging in culture wars. That would be taking it like a step too far. I don't know him well enough to say that. I don't know him at all personally, but like, he's not going to be afraid to comment on stuff and to call people out on their BS, because we've seen him do it already in college. It's just paused right now as he's making this jump to the pros. So, while I think this story is a complete zero, I do think Caleb is going to age into having opinions on stuff.
I just have one more thought on that. And this is why I don't, as much as this might surprise you, this is why I don't think it's a complete zero. Because you're dealing with 53 personalities who all come from different places and all consume information and derive and get to opinions in different ways.
Yeah.
And do I think that some people in his locker room might fall for some of that stuff? Yes, I do. Do I think that there might be one coach on the Bears staff who might like secretly feel that way about him? I think it's possible. So that's all I'm saying. Like, these topics and these discussions, somebody has to believe in them, Danny. And you'd be surprised sometimes the people that actually believe in this stuff.
Oh no, listen, I've, like literally every other person in America, I've had relationships deteriorate with friends and family in the last, 8 years or 9 years or whatever, in the age of disinformation. So like, of course I agree with what you just said. But that's existed for forever. And locker rooms in the NFL are weird places. Like, you've got people from Alabama and people from California and people from Florida and people, it's a melting pot of places. And football and sports are, one of our last meritocracies. So they might roll their eyes or judge him silently, but if he's the quarterback and he's good, that, Aaron, that's not going to matter. So he's just got to be good. He's got to be good. But I mean, Jeffrey Simmons, right? It was Jeffrey Simmons. I think it was Jeffrey Simmons. Said it on Rich Eisen. He's like, I can't wait to trash talk in week 1 and say,
Yeah.
paints his nails. So like, I'm just checking to be sure that was correct.
Well, they're playing the Titans, so you got the.
No, I know they play the Titans. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It was Jeffrey Simmons. Okay. I didn't want to assign it to the wrong person. And he didn't seem like he was saying it as a hater. He was just saying he was excited to use it as trash talk material. So like, I'm not saying it's never going to be a thing. I just think this is not a thing right now.
Observation 9.
Oh, we got to go faster.
Okay. Sam Darnold to start Minnesota's preseason opener. On a Danny Parkins scale of intrigue, thinking about, you know what? Maybe this guy is a Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield. And one being, no, he's actually not. He's more like what Mitch Trubisky looked like in Pittsburgh before he lost his job to Kenny Pickett. Where are you on that scale when it comes to Sam Darnold with Jefferson and O'Connell in Minnesota?
I mean, listen, I'm pretty consistent on Minnesota. I think that they are a really good situation for a quarterback to go to. But I think we've seen Darnold bounce from a few different spots. I do not believe that he is going to be given a long enough runway to prove that he could be Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield in Minnesota. I think this is going to be JJ McCarthy sooner than later. And I don't buy it. I think even if Darnold plays okay, he's not going to light the world on fire from day one, which is what I think it would take in order to keep JJ McCarthy on the bench. I'm not buying this story that everyone's trying to sell me.
I'm at a 6 on it.
Really?
Yes.
You think there's a world where JJ McCarthy gets a red shirt year in the NFL?
Yes, I do.
Wow, I do not. Okay.
I think there's a better chance than not they win 8 or 9 games there this year, and he's the quarterback the entire season for Minnesota.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to agree with you. I'm
going to throw stats out there. 27 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, Sam Darnold in 2024.
15 interceptions is not enough to keep McCarthy. I mean, okay.
27 touchdowns?
27 touchdowns would be good.
Last one. Packers-Browns are going to play in Cleveland. Doesn't sound there's going to be too many more games left in Cleveland proper because there's a dome stadium proposal to go out to the suburbs. Danny, what are we doing here? I know you've dealt with some of this in Chicago with all the Soldier Field discussion and where they're Arlington Park and everything else. That's where friggin' what's the famous horse that was out there running at Arlington Park back in the day? They made a movie about him, Seabiscuit.
Yeah.
He was out there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, he was.
Yes. We're going to split this and ask taxpayers from outside of Cleveland for $1 billion to help them build this thing. You're the Cleveland Browns. Okay. The Green Bay Packers should not have a roof on their stadium at any time. The Chicago Bears should not have a roof on their stadium at any time. And I say this as someone who was in upstate New York for most of my life and went to a college in a cold weather place where there was a dome stadium, and it made it easier to watch a very, very bad football team for the 4 years that I was there. But there are just some places that should not have a dome, that should be played in the elements. And I just think that Cleveland is one of those places. The entire division is outdoor stadium. Bengals, Steelers, Ravens. It's like they're turning their back on their divisional brethren here by going through with this. And like, do Cleveland people strike you? They're not LA people, right? They're not Florida people. These are not people that need to be indoors. These are individuals that in 15-degree weather wear no shirts and put dog masks on. All of a sudden, that dog pound thing isn't quite as intimidating when it's 68 degrees for a game there in December. Thoughts?
I mean, I'm with you in sentiment. I'm not with you in practicality. I hate the idea of any of these teams asking taxpayers to pay for the stadium. So the $1 billion in the public taxpayer dollars bothers me way more than the roof in Cleveland. It's the same song and dance. We do a stadium in the burbs with a roof. we'll get the Final Four, we'll get WrestleMania, we'll get a Super Bowl. That's why they do it. That's the
They just
selling.
had wrestling there. And the wrestling thing was in Philadelphia, I think, earlier this year, and they don't have a roof on their stadium, Danny. What are you talking about with your wrestling takes?
I'm just telling you, fine. You don't like my wrestling takes? You got Final Fours being played outdoors, buddy?
I don't care if they built the nicest football stadium of all time. The Final Four would go there once and it would never go back. No offense to Cleveland, but people don't want to go to Cleveland once every 7 or 8 years for a big event. They built a dome stadium in Detroit. The Final Four went there once. The Super Bowl went there once, and it's never gone back, Danny. No offense to that great American city.
I'm aware. I don't think the Super Bowl would ever come back to Chicago other than the once, but I do think we'd be in the rotation for Final Fours. Like, I do think Chicago.
Well, yeah, because Chicago's a great cosmopolitan city. I mean, yeah, of course it would be.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, that's that. But you said Chicago should never have a dome stadium. That's why. Like, they get Taylor Swift to play Soldier Field, but not in November, December, January, February. Like, so that's. I hate it too, man. But it's all about money. That's all it is. It's very simple. They try to get the taxpayers to pay for something for billionaires so that they can own something that makes more money year round.
All right, but don't put a dome on it is all I'm saying. Don't put a roof on the thing.
Okay, I'm with you, but they're going to because it makes them more money if there's a roof on it.
So what is your take on that then? That in 50 years when our kids are our age and watching football, every NFL stadium is going to have a dome?
Yes. Yeah, that is actually exactly what I think.
All right, let's end on that note.
All right. Spencer Ray's our producer. He's Andrew Fillipponi. Subscribe, rate, review. First and Pod. Peace.